Live over the weekend, Carmelo Anthony shared a story about how LeBron, on one of their banana boat crew vacations, saved Melo from drowning as he swam out into the ocean. Melo says that a strong current began to pull him out to sea, but that LeBron jumped off their boat, swam to him, grabbed him with one arm, and pulled him to safety with the other arm. Melo said on IG Live, "Yo, Bron, you saved my life that day. Yo, Shannon." What's your reaction to this story?
See, the biggest misconception in the world is that a goat can't swim. But goats can swim. You see, a lot of people think goats don't like water because goats have an odor, Skip, about them. People don't know that, but I grew up on a farm, know a thing or two about goats. And so that's what they say, man, you out there smelling like a goat because goats don't like water. That's the misconception. But the goat that we're talking about love water. Skip, you remember there was a TV show that used to come on every week. It was called Patrick Duffy, if I'm not mistaken, is the actor, the man from Atlantis. Well, what about the man from Akron? Because he could swim just like that. And he went and got Melo. And Melo thanked him. So goats can swim. The greatest ball player of all time, Mike can take Michael Phelps in a race. I wouldn't bet against it.
Maybe.
Put money on that, Skip.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he should have pursued swimming because maybe he would have been beyond Michael Phelps. I don't know. I've never heard this story before, which is shocking to me because usually these kind of stories can end pretty badly because the rescuer goes out and the desperate, victim who's going under can pull the rescuer down with him. So for LeBron to be able to go out and with one arm hold Melo, what's Melo, 6'8", 240? And drag him back to the boat while swimming with one arm? God.
But see, Skip, that's where when you're a lifeguard, you have lifeguard skills, you know you have to come up from behind. Because yes, he's panicked. He's gonna do anything to try to secure himself. So in the process of that, he's pushing you down. That's why you come up from behind, you grab him from the back, and you stroke your way back in. Your boy Shay could stroke too a little bit.
Okay, I got it. But again, maybe LeBron is a real-life cartoon superhero. Maybe he's just come to life. I don't know. I've never heard anything like this.
He's a real superhero.
All I wonder, Shannon,
he's a real superhero.
Yeah, why can't superheroes make their free throws late in close games? I don't understand that. If he can save Melo, but he can't save his team making clutch free throws. I thought he was a cartoon superhero.
This is a great story. Skip Bayless, this is a great story. This is about the GOAT saving Carmelo, and now you want to go to him, he can't make free throws. You see how you ruined it?
I wasn't trying to ruin it. I don't know. It seemed like this is... And down the stretch we come here on Undisputed. ESPN is down to its final four in its fan vote for the greatest college basketball player ever. Semifinals now are Shaq versus Larry Bird and Magic versus Michael Jordan. So, Shannon Sharp, who you got for greatest college player ever?
Skip, this is laughable. And you know this is laughable. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was Lou Alcindor then. I will not refer to him by that name. He gave that name up. Kareem, Skip, let this sink in. And I want people to understand what Kareem did. Kareem was 3-0. He won 3 national titles. He was 3 times most outstanding player. He was 3 times National Player of the Year. Kareem lost 1 game. He lost that in the Astrodome to Elvin Hayes' Houston Cougars team. They came back and beat that Cougars team. They won and came back and beat them, Skip, by 32.
They did.
Kareem lost 1 game. Now, I'm not saying he's the most important because that's a tie between Bird and Magic. Because what they did in '79, Skip, changed the landscape of the March Madness in the Final Four. It was never going to be the same. And to this day, it's still the most watched televised basketball game in NBA, and not in NBA history, in the history of the sport, Skip. And we talk about 2 college players, more than a finals, more than the Olympics, more than anything. Let that sink in. 2 college players did that. So Bird and Magic are most important. But the best college player of all time, Skip, is Kareem, and it's not even close. Kareem averaged 26 points, 15 rebounds, block shots. Remember, Skip, blocks was not an official stat back then. So who knows what he would have done. And remember this, Skip, freshmen also couldn't play. but Kareem's freshman team beat the UCLA team that won the national championship. They scrimmaged against them and beat them. Skip, I love Shaq, but Shaq never got past the Sweet 16. Even with Stanley Roberts and Chris Jackson, who later changed his name to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Skip, this is laughable. I love Shaq, but you can't base it on what the guy did in the NBA, Skip. We're talking about college. Skip, Christian Laettner had a better college career than basically everybody else that's in the Final Four. College, we're talking about college, not what they became. College, it's not even close. This is laughable.
Okay, I hear what you're saying about Kareem. I'm actually old enough, I got to watch Wilt Chamberlain play college basketball at Kansas, and it was the same impact where he was just unstoppable. And Kareem was right there with Wilt as a college basketball force. Shaq was in there somewhere, but to your point, Shaq couldn't win, and we're holding that against Shaq. But Shannon, you grew up a fan of one Larry Joe Bird. And I got to tell you, the harder I look at what Larry Bird did with an Indiana State team, Larry Bird went from French Lick, Indiana to Terre Haute, Indiana. And you know how I always joke about how Tom Brady would go out before games and pick 3 guys from Dorchester and say, you 3 guys, come down here and you're going to be my receivers. Well, Larry Bird basically picked 4 guys from Terre Haute and said, you guys come out here and let's go try to win the NCAA championship. And I've never seen anything like what Larry did. Now, he was a senior that year, but again, Carl Nicks was a pretty good player, and he bounced around the NBA for 3 teams and averaged 7 points. But you've never heard of the other 3 guys who were in that starting lineup. No. And Larry Bird took them to 33-0. And when you look at what they did, they destroyed a Dave Bliss team at Oklahoma that I knew because they had wiped out Texas. They're one of the best shooting teams I've ever seen. And Bird wiped them out, wiped out Eddie Sutton's Arkansas team that featured Sidney Moncrief and Scott Hastings, and that DePaul team in the national semifinal that I knew pretty well, Mark Aguirre and company under Ray Meyer, beat them. And then he tried his darndest to beat, Michigan State. But again, when Magic had Greg Kelser, who was a pretty good NBA player, along riding shotgun. And remember, Kelser in that game went 19, 8, and 9. So it was hard for Larry to overcome that. But Shannon,
it was 2 against 1.
I'm going to nitpick here, but it was 2 against 1. But here's a nitpick. Remember, Kareem, as a sophomore and as a junior, had the 2 best guards in America in Lucius Allen and Mike Warren. And Lucius Allen was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. And Mike Warren would have played pro basketball, but he decided to become an actor, and he became a really good one, if you remember him on Hill Street Blues and many other things that he was in. Yeah, he was great in it.
I do.
Okay, then Kareem's senior year, he's got Sidney Wicks, who was the 2nd overall pick in the draft and became a 4-time All-Star in pro basketball, and Curtis Rowe, who was the 11th overall pick and an All-Star in the NBA. So, he did have, he had a lot of help at UCLA, and he was coached by the greatest coach ever, John Wooden. So,
I'll give you that. But let me ask you a question, Skip. If you take Kareem off that team, do you believe they win the national title? If you take those guys off the team, they still win the title. With Kareem, they're winning the title. Nobody was beating him, Skip. The guy lost 2 games. He lost 1 game in high school, 1 game in college.
Well, listen to the scores of their finals. They beat Dayton 79-64, then Carolina 78-55, and Purdue 92-72. So they wiped everybody out. But I will say in that first game, which I watched live that night from the Astrodome, he did lose to Elvin Hayes, and Kareem had a bad game as a junior against Elvin Hayes because he only scored 15 and shot 4 of 18 from the field. So a little glitch, just a little blemish on the college career there. He did get outplayed 1 time. So again, I'm going to give, I know what you're talking about, most important. Yeah, I got it, but most important or most valuable to one season, man, what Bird did was just off the charts. We've never seen anything like that. It's just hard to go that far with that little, and Larry Bird did so much with so little. Highly impressive.
But Skip, it was just 1 season. Because remember now, Skip, he went from French Lick, he had a layover in Bloomington because he went to IU first.
He did.
And
Briefly,
then he went to Indiana
Bobby
State.
Knight.
Right. It was never going to work with Bobby. It was never going to work with Bobby Knight. But Skip, you think about the totality, Skip. You lose one game in your college career, and you're National Player of the Year 3 times, and you're Most Outstanding Player 3 times with 3 national titles. Skip, and it's never going to be done again, Skip. There might be another undefeated team that loses in the finals, but there'll never be another Kareem what he accomplished. Never.
Okay. My final thought about this topic is I can't